paleo diet, clean eating, flexible dieting, if it fits your macros, intermittent fasting, zone diet. I have personally tried all of these forms and more over my 25 years of fitness experience. And on top of that, in my 15 years of professional coaching experience, I have assessed hundreds of food logs. And I can tell you that nutrition gets super complicated, super fast, but it doesn't have to be. And that's exactly what I'm gonna go over today, is give you my 3 rules for simple and effective nutrition. So first and foremost, in order of importance, is 1 to 2 cups of lean protein at every single meal, or really every single time you eat. And there's a few reasons why. Number 1, if you want to have a lean and muscular body, you need muscle mass to do that. And other than regular resistance training, having a high amount of lean protein is critical to achieving that. Again, with those food logs I mentioned before, including my own struggles in the beginning, under-eating protein is super common. I would say 9 out of 10 food logs that I've assessed over the years have this issue, and it's usually the first place that we attack. On top of that, if you struggle with overeating the sweets and the chips and all the things that you're trying to avoid, having lots of lean protein is going to be your best defense against that, because out of the 3 macronutrients, protein, carbs, and fats, protein is the one that's going to fill you up the most. So consider protein the foundation of every single meal and the first thing you should put on your plate every single time. Quick examples of lean protein in case you're not familiar. We have eggs, egg whites, chicken, lean meats like turkey and lean beef and bison. We have fish, we have Greek yogurt and cottage cheese. And then as an option, but not a necessity, protein powders. Okay, rule number 2. Is unlimited fruits and vegetables. Now, contrary to popular belief, fruit does not make you fat. I promise you, no one got fat off of strawberries. The people that are saying that confuse real unprocessed sugar with processed sugar, and that's the stuff that's easy to overeat. You will have fruit coming out of your ears before you overeat it. So the reason I use hyperbole here and say unlimited is, number 1, most people don't eat enough fruits and veggies to begin with. They're not getting the fiber and the micronutrients that you get from fruits and veggies. And so if I say have a cup, most people will have a half cup. If I say unlimited, that means I don't want you to overthink it. Fill up on them, because it is really hard to overeat them. And honestly, even if you just stuck with these 2 things, getting the body you want is an inevitability. No one got fat off chicken breast and fruit and veggies, promise. Unless, of course, you're dousing everything in ranch, then we gotta have a separate conversation. So this does not necessarily have to mean that every single meal has to have fruits and veggies in it. But if you did 1 to 2 cups of lean protein as your foundation, and then the rest of your plate, fruits and veggies, that's a very easy recipe for success. But if you're like me, you like the starchy carbs, the breads, pastas, potatoes, the rices. So what do you do with that? That's my 3rd and final rule. And the 3rd rule is to pick 1 meal out of your day to have a starchy carb. Again, quick definition. What I'm referring to is your potatoes, your rice, your breads, your pastas, things like that. Why just 1 meal? Well, kind of the opposite of rule number 2, where it's really hard to overeat fruits and veggies. It's very easy to overeat starchy carbs. Give you a quick example. In a cup of strawberries, there's about 40 calories. In a cup of most cooked pastas, there's 200 calories. But let's be honest, who has a cup of cooked pasta when they have it? Like, come on. And so consider this kind of the expensive part of your budget, where you can definitely have this, but just make sure you're aware of how much you're having, because it's easy to overeat or overspend with that budget analogy. Now, I like to include this, number 1, for longevity, because if you're like me, you enjoy bread. For example, my first meal of the day always has 2 big slices of sourdough toast with avocado on top. I love it. And not to mention, I've tried to just do lean protein and fruits and veggies, and I didn't like how I felt. I feel stronger when I am having a daily dose of the starchy carbs. Now for me, especially if I'm super active in the day, sometimes I'll bump that up to 2 meals. I use this as kind of a gas pedal that I either coast on if I'm not very active, where I'll have little to no starchy carbs, or if I'm super active, I'll allow myself to have a second meal with them. That's something you can play around with, but it's more just to encourage a little more mindfulness around the type of food that's easiest to overeat. Now, I promise you, your nutrition does not need to be any more complicated than this. Even just adopting rule number 1 of having 1 to 2 cups of lean protein every meal, if you're not doing that right now, which there's a high likelihood you're not, will make a huge difference. And then from there, adopt these other 2 rules, and I promise you, it is an inevitability you'll get the body you want. If this video was valuable for you, please like, share, and subscribe. And ask any questions you want in the comments. I'm always happy to answer them, and I'll see you for the next video.